It's butt whipping time.
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Christian Peck-Dimit.
Do you want to keep this job? Shut up, listen, learn.
The region's only local sports talk show, discussing it all from the preps to the pros.
What time is it? Game time!
Simulcasting on AM 730 Fox Sports Tri-State, streaming online at nwksradio.net and the Rockingham app.
They are everywhere.
The Blitz is presented by the Insurance Agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Coleman, deep fly ball, back to the wall, and Jada Coleman hits it out. The opposite field, walk-off home run for the Sooners. And the quest for a four-peat continues.
And he goes that way again. What row is this one going to land in? Wow. Almost the exact same spot. And Bobby Witt Jr. has his second two-run home run in the last two innings. 1-0. Drilled right field. And that's trouble. It rolls all the way to the wall. Here comes Bellinger. Here comes Morrell. Christopher to the plate. He's in. And the Cubs have the lead. Ian Happ delivers. It's 7-6 in the bottom of the eighth. Line drive to right field. He is the hero. A one-hop off the wall. Here comes Merrifield, and the Phils will win it. In the bottom of the 10th inning, Nick Castellanos, an RBI double. 2-1 Phils.
Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Hope your hump day's off to a good start. Ross Volkmer, Christian Peck-Dimit with you here for another hour of excellence, as we like to call it here on 102.5 U-Rock, AM 730, Fox Sports Tri-State. Of course, also online, nwksradio.net, the Rockingham app. Video streaming also available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. And a shout out to a bunch of new sponsors as well that are making the Blitz possible. Shout out to Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland with they're our video stream sponsor. If you tune in to watch the show on the video stream, you'll see that lovely logo there in the bottom right corner. There you go, Christian, with his best Vanna White impression right there. There you go. That's much better. But as you see that there, Hurl Chevrolet GMC sponsoring our video stream, making it possible to see our ugly mugs every single day. Thank you to Craig, Danny, and the entire staff over there at Hurl Chevrolet GMC. Also a shout out as well to F&B Bank. They are our text line sponsor, 785-899-2222. That's the number to be part of the Morning Blitz. If you want to chime in with your thoughts and comments, it's on the ticker down there, 785-899-2222. Hit us up on the F&B Bank text line. Chris, you could probably even show the new graphic that we have for the F&B Bank text line. Might as well just show that right now and just let the people see the great grab. There you go. You can text the FB Bank text line right now at 785-899-2222.
Shout out
to the Morning Blitz. Yeah, and of course, the Hoover Hotline, the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline, or as I like to call it, the Hoover Hotline, will be hot later on in this show as we'll have Cole Carmody joining the program from Go Power Cat. He is Go Power Cat's expert on K-State baseball and what to expect for this weekend's Super Regionals against Virginia, and thoughts of just the season as a whole from Cole Carmody. So that's coming up on today's program. Christian, how's the day off to?
You know what? It's off pretty good. I did one of those things yesterday where I took a nap when I got home from work, and I usually don't like to take weekday nap. I don't like to take weekday naps. I feel like I there goes
wasting a day.
Yeah. And then got up, went to basketball, etc. Came back, went to try to go to sleep at my normal time, and that nap threw off the whole thing. So I could not get to sleep.
What time did you actually think you fell asleep last night?
Probably like 1 a.m.
Rough.
Not good. So we're a little slow this morning.
So how long was the nap?
Only about an hour and a half. I don't know.
An hour and a half.
Got thrown off. Hour
and a half.
Hopefully your morning's starting a little bit better than that, though.
It's been fine. It's been fine.
That sounded like a very negative.
It's typical. It's typical stuff. We're having a few minor things with one of our kids stuff, trying to figure out what's going on there with an eating deal, but we're hopefully going to figure that out. So anyway, hopefully we'll cross that bridge and get that all solved here sooner rather than later. But
easier said than done.
Oh, very much so. So much easier said than done. That is for sure. We will get to some news out of K-State basketball. They made a big addition yesterday, literally a big addition. The Royals and Rockies both handed losses last night. I don't know which one was worse. We're going to have to talk about that. Which loss was worse? Was it the Royals or the Rockies loss? We'll get to that coming up in segment 3. And we didn't do it yesterday, but we will do it today in the walk-off. The Women's College World Series finals are set. We'll get you an update on what to expect tonight as the championship series begins with game 1 out of the best of 3. But man, I want to start off with the show talking about just a side story that I saw coming out of the Big 12. And this is regarding basketball of all things, but the Big 12 has seemed to have approved going to Hollywood seating for the upcoming 2024-25 basketball season. Now, you may be curious and say, what is Hollywood seating? Well, if you watch any of this product called the NBA, you would see Hollywood seating all the time. It's where there is the scorer's table or, a table or so. Sometimes it's a table, sometimes it's not. And then you have the seating of the fans in the middle with the benches all the way pushed back in the corners. If you're looking at a screen. So if you're watching a game live on TV, so when you watch the NBA finals coming up here tomorrow when they tip off, you will see that the Celtics bench is way back in the corner and that the Mavericks bench is way back in the corner. You'll see that with the fans sitting in the front row and the coach kind of walking in front of the fans from time to time. As far as I know, that is Hollywood seating.
That is. Yep. You've got that
and
in between.
If you want to know what I think is one of the dumber things in all of sports, it is Hollywood seating. How dumb is it that the players and the coaches that make the game possible have to sit in the corners like rejects from the floor? I don't understand it, Christian. I do not get it.
What do you mean like rejects? Like you want them to have more screen time?
They should be able to sit right there in the floor, right in the middle, with a divider like a scorer's table doing it. That's how it should look. That is how the game was planned, not with fans. If you want to have front row seating for fans, do it on the other side of the floor.
They have that too.
Give them the entire front row. They don't need more front row seating on the side and you're just asking for fans to say stuff to kids and stuff and to players that you don't need. This is so stupid. Why are we doing this stuff? I do not get it. I know why they're doing it is because it's for money. They're going to try and raise more money to help pay these players that they got to help pay now. So once again, thank you, pay for play. It has ruined sports, and the trickle-down effect continues.
I think we should do a challenge on this show, and I'm trying to come up with new segments and get creative and all this stuff, and I think we just sort of stumbled into one. Can Ross go a week without complaining about the new look?
No,
college
cannot. It's awful. It's terrible, and it needs to be fixed. It's terrible. Put me in charge. We'll fix all these problems. Dictator Ross is coming out, and we're going to fix these problems. I'll get a committee together. We'll fix this. I bet I get a lot of support from the coaches, and I bet also from a lot of decent amount of fans too.
Yeah, maybe, except for the ones that are trying to buy these Hollywood seats, which, if you were wondering, are probably going to end up costing more than your house, but such is the way that they want it set up. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of Hollywood seating. I think it's something that among televised sports has kind of stayed unique in college basketball, where you just get a full view of the benches like you do. And like Ross said, they're not shoved in the corner. At the same time, I really don't think it's a huge deal. Like with this change, I don't think it, other than the possibility of fan interaction, which in the raucous environment of some of these college sporting events, I think sadly you're probably going to end up getting. I don't think you run into a massive amount of issues with something like this. It's a money-making opportunity, and the benches sit a little bit closer to the baseline than they do right now.
They're in the corners.
They're in the corners, and I want my kids at the end of the bench to be right in the center of attention.
Don't you want your players to be involved in the game, not shoved in the corner?
They still can be.
Oh, I mean, I guess you can still throw a towel and stuff from the corner like Jamal Murray did.
True.
I guess you can do that. But this is so
To be fair, if it was college-like seating and they were closer to to midcourt, Jamal probably could have been more accurate. Maybe he could have hit a player and gotten suspended for the rest of the playoffs. Who knows? But yeah, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. You sit your bench players in the corner a little bit. So what?
It's just not the way it's supposed to be played. It's not the way it's supposed to be designed. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
Says who?
Done.
Says Ross?
Says history.
Supposed to be designed. We've done it that way forever.
Annuals of basketball photos of games and old time video. They're all sitting there. Unless you want to go way back to some of the old days where they had the benches literally on the sidelines, on the baselines, which I think Vanderbilt still does that. I think. I could be wrong.
Plenty of
high school. I don't care.
Games.
Put the benches on the sidelines, on the baselines. I don't care. Don't put them back in the corner. Why do we have to make more room for fans? There's plenty of room for fans. Plenty of room. Plenty of good
There
seats.
is one good argument that always prevails for anything. It's we've done it that way forever, and so that has to be the right way, and that we have to keep doing it like that. Shove them in the corners. Texter Michael on the text line. Thank you, Michael. Chimes in and says, like in the field house, yeah, there are some stadiums that have the kids in the corners already.
They are not all the way in the corners. Like the field house is not.
Why does it matter?
They're not all the way in the corners.
Why does it matter that they're crammed in the corners?
Michael, watch an NBA game and then you've seen enough KU games. You know that's not correct. Even though in the KU game, when you watch it on television, that KU would sit on the benches to the near side of the camera, so you see the back of the heads of the players and the coaches. If you look, you'll see there's a scorer's table, and then there is the benches. Now you're going to have a scorer's table that's probably a little bit smaller. I don't know, maybe not. And then you're going to have fans that fill out till about 10 feet from the baseline on each side, and then the benches will start. Players will be in the corners.
Now,
literally,
to be fair,
some of them off the floor completely.
Two things. One, we don't know. They could sometimes, like in the NBA, do smaller, so to speak, that is shorter scorers tables, and then have some people that usually work, quote unquote, on the scorers table on those back rows behind them. I know that happens sometimes. The second thing is we don't know how large right now, and it could be a stadium per stadium type thing. This is only the Big 12, by the way, approving this. They can introduce them. So then, as far as I'm aware, I think it's still stadium to stadium decision for how to do that. It might not be nearly as big as the NBA. These stadium seats take up as much space. And the final thing is, I just need a straight answer. Why does it matter that the kids are shoved into the corner a little bit more? I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Look, people can do whatever they want. I'm a purist. I just like the way it's always looked, where the game is about the play on the court. And shouldn't
the play on the court still in the center of the camera? On the center of the court.
My point is that as a coach, do you really want to be walking in front of fans all the time? Don't you want to be turn around? Don't you want to have to turn around and talk to your team instead of have to walk back down the baseline and talk to guys in the corner? That seems dumb to me. What, you want to have fans, that are going to get mad and stuff? Man, you suck out there, number whatever you are. You're terrible out there. You don't want that kind of stuff happen.
That happens on the other side of the court already.
My point is that you are just continually changing the game to the pro style. We don't need more pro style stuff. We have a pro game. Leave it as is. Leave the college game as it is. You don't need to do this stuff. And that can go to multiple different levels. I just don't get it. But, currently the scorers table runs all the way up against the benches on either side of the floor.
Yes.
The tables will get shortened to make room for floor seats even closer to players and coaches.
Oh, the
That's
tables are getting shortened. Is that what you said?
But that doesn't matter if they're going to shorten the tables. It depends on how many seats they put in. If they only put in 4 seats on each side, okay, I will quit my complaining. But I guarantee it's going to be probably 12 to 10 on each side. And then you're going to continue to see the benches be all the way. There'll be guys at the end of the bench, which once again, they're at the end of the bench. They're all the way shoved in the corners. The guys out there whipping the towels, keeping everybody going on the bench, they'll be in the corners.
Yeah, I got nothing for you. I think this is a non-story. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I'm just saying it's summertime, and it isn't that big of a story either. I would agree. But I would sit here and say that this is stupid. I would love to hear from a basketball coach, if they had to coach like that, where the fans were right there in pretty much in a spot where your bench usually is. I would love to know that. I would love to hear that. I'd love to hear their thoughts on that from a coach's perspective. Instead of being able to turn around and talk to your assistant coaches and your players, instead because where the coach box ends, that won't change. So let's say you turn around and you're like, oh, I'm talking to 10 fans now. Instead of and then I got to walk all the way back down the floor to try and talk to my team and talk to my players.
Ross, you just said that they're taking space out of the scorers table, not out of the benches, so the coaches will be standing exactly where they were already.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Is that what you just said?
They are, but that does not change where the lines for the coaches box are. The lines on the floor that keep the coaches. The scorers table will be smaller. But that does not change the lines on the floor.
Exactly my
the
point.
So the bench is further down in the corner where you have to walk all the way back across in front of fans back in the corner to talk to your coaches and players.
You had to do that before.
No, you didn't. You could just turn around and maybe 1 or 2 steps you're right there, not 10 or 15 down the line.
If they take space out of the benches, maybe, and then you have to take 6 steps instead of 4, I think they'll get over it.
I just think it's stupid. I don't like where it's going. I like the way it is. Why do we have to keep dicking with stuff that just works just fine? It works just fine.
I'm with you there. There's no issues.
Does anybody on the text line have any thought on this? I would love to hit us up on the FB Bank text line, 785-899-2222. Once again, they're going to go in the Big 12 basketball season to Hollywood-style seating, which means, once again, they're going to have a smaller scorers table on the side where the benches sit, a little bit smaller scorers table. Then they're going to have fans. How many, we don't know. Probably up to the university to decide that. And I guess my point is that schools are allowed to do this. It's not like they have to do it, but they're allowed to do it. And then they're going to have fans. And then you'll start the benches with the coaches and the players, which will be end of the corners, like you see in an NBA game. I'd love to hear what people think about that. Because I think the way the NBA does it is dumb. That's just my personal opinion. I know why they do it, because it's for money. I get it. You can charge buku bucks for those high quality seats and get to hear all the things the coaches say and the players say. I get it. I know why you do it. But do you like that? I personally do not. I think it is dumb. If I want to sit floor side and I have the money, I'm fine with sitting across the floor. And let that one side be just for the players and for the coaches. I'm perfectly fine with that. The rest can be for the fans.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at the way it is right now. I just think that a change isn't all that big of a deal, especially if you're taking it, like you said, out of the scorers table space and not out of the benches. And even if you take a couple of bench seats, we'll live.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know how much of a scorers table they're going to take. I don't know. I'll be intrigued. Because, that's also where some of the media sits sometimes.
That is true. And
are you going to cut the media out and have them go somewhere else?
A lot of pro places have media either behind benches or usually behind the baseline. I think 4 chairs, says texter Drew, on each side of the scorers table. Yeah, that's probably what we're looking at. The 10 to 12 number of chairs that Ross said was made up in his angry little head.
It is.
We're not going to get that many chairs. We're not going to get 10 to 12 seats on each side. It's not going to happen.
It just depends. It's going to be up to that certain venue or university to decide on what they want to do. And look, I know why they're doing it. They see a $22 million deficit that they have to fill. They got to find a way to fill that hole in their budget because we're paying players. We got to find a way to do that. And this is also Brett Yormark and his, he's very much into the way the pros do their stuff. He loves the way the pro game is. And so I'm not surprised to see that it's something that him and some other play pros say, let's try this out. Let's give this a shot. Did you want to quickly highlight on Angel Reese real quick? Since you got me all stirred up, you want to just keep me mad this morning?
Yeah, I figured we were going to spend more time on this, which is more of a story. Angel Reese the other day, with all this hoopla about Caitlin Clark and how the rest of the WNBA is treating her, both physically and we'll say with their words. She went on a post-game press conference where she's talking about, she's demonized in the press and all these things, and I'm just as big as Caitlin Clark is. And the exact quote is, among many other things, "I know I'll go down in history," says Angel Reese. "I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too. I want y'all to realize that. I want her to realize she is incorrect."
And why?
Because on the one hand, to a certain extent, she's right. The WNBA has profited and grown off of the growth of players like Angel Reese, like Cameron Brink, like incoming Paige Beckers, Haley Van Lith, who aren't even there yet. But people recognize that it's not just Caitlin Clark. There's a wave of incoming talent and names thanks to NIL and social media and all of these things. Names that people know that are in a league that people didn't. You're finally getting eyes on it. At the same time, it's Caitlin Clark. She's the one selling out arenas. She's the one bringing all of this national media attention to the league. And I think it's sort of this one-sided rivalry that Angel Reese is almost just stirring the pot where it does not need to be stirred. She believes she needs more credit. She can believe that all she wants. I think an argument over where credit goes just takes away from an already ridiculous sort of media coverage that the league gets every time Caitlin Clark gets shoved down. People cry racism one side or the other, and it's sort of
a huge part of it. It's a part of it.
It's not. It's a ridiculous. No, it's not. It's people apparently like you, but people in the media that are just trying to push narratives, and I think it takes away from an actually fun league that people are now missing out on.
I don't want to push any narratives. I don't want to talk even about race, but it is a part of it. It is. It's part of it, and you have to accept that fact.
What, because she's white, she's getting more viewers?
Yeah, she's drawing in an audience that probably would not watch otherwise. I think that's probably the biggest reason. She's drawing in a lot more fans probably from the Midwest and from the lower populated areas, which tend to be usually more Caucasian. I think she probably draws in some of that a little bit more because people look at her and like, hey, that's kind of like me. People want something that they can relate to. And to have someone like Caitlin Clark, which I think at least people out here, I would assume in the Midwest, can kind of relate to a little bit more. I think that, I'm not saying it's the biggest reason. I'm just saying I think that has an impact. I'm not saying race is also the biggest reason why, but I am saying it does have an impact in this whole deal.
I think race is tantamount to nothing in this because, like you said, it is small town people. It's Midwest people because guess what? She's a small town girl who grew up in Iowa, who went to Iowa, and in a league that is increasingly in a sports world, frankly, in all leagues at all levels and all sports that is increasingly more coast driven and less middle America. You get a player that represents all of that and has lived here her whole life and has played for these teams. And guess what? Is staying here, is now in Indiana. I think race is meaningless in that. I think the fact that they're all white just comes from the fact that middle America is mostly white and those are her fans. I think if Middle America was mostly black, they'd follow her just as much.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know about that. No doubt her staying in the Midwest has helped a ton. Like her being able to play at Indiana certainly helped. But you are right in the fact that she is going to other arenas and selling out. That's a fact about that. But I don't know this for a fact at all. This is just me completely shooting from the hip here. But I would guess if you were to do a poll, like if you were to check as people came into the arena over the last couple of years, once again, I don't know. I would assume there'd be a little bit more of white America coming to the WNBA this year.
Yes, that would because she's bringing Middle America, and they happen to be white.
But
I think every time Luka Doncic cooks some defender, no one cries racism. That seems to happen every time Caitlin Clark is brought up, and I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's damaging to the game.
I'm not saying that it's not damaging to the game. I think it's actually there is a part of it. I think there is actually a part of it in their mix. I just think there is. So I wouldn't, like I said, I think there is a part of it that is stirring all this animosity amongst the players a little bit. I think there is some of it that actually stirs that. I think there are players out there in the WNBA that are like, we've been here for a long time and we've had a good product, but nobody wanted to watch us. And now this little white girl from Iowa comes in and now everybody wants to watch us.
You used nicer words than Pat McAfee did. But.
Well, I'm not Pat McAfee, obviously. I don't have $1 million that I could pay if I wanted to say, but that's probably the truth. I
would
or not. That's probably the truth.
I'm with you there.
Said it. It's probably the truth.
I'm with you there. Actually, I think other parts of the WNBA, because they make race as part of their identity, a bigger piece of their identity than it should be. They're probably pissed off partly because of her race, but I think it's too big of a media narrative that's being pushed. That's all I'm saying is that it becomes there's no other league, it seems, that gets this kind of wild coverage. And I think part of it, you hit the nail on the head there, is because of its own players. They tend to, I've never seen any league try to keep its own stars down the way the WNBA does. No one hates the WNBA, it seems, more than WNBA players.
I can't speak much to it. I don't watch a ton of the NBA or the NBA or the WNBA. I don't watch a ton of it. But if you just want my honest opinion, I would say that once again, there is some race involved in this storyline, and it is causing more ripples than it probably needs to. But that's the case. And honestly, Caitlin Clark hasn't really been that awesome, in her first few games of the WNBA. She really hasn't been that great.
I feel bad for her. She's getting clobbered out there, and her team is. We'll say she should have more assists than she currently does. I'll put it that way.
They can't make shots.
They can't make layups. It's ugly. It's bad.
All right, we got to get to a break. We'll come back. Cole Carmody's going to join the show next from Go Power Cat. It's been a great couple of weeks for K-State baseball, and he's going to give us all the details next on the great few weeks and what to expect this weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's next here on the Morning Blitz.
You have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-230-2777. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-230-2777. That's 800-230-2777 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. 800-230-2777.
It's time now for news from the world of agriculture on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
For the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network, I'm Austin McNorton. Today, it's our final day of conversation with the program manager for Kansas Corn, Kylie Massengale, as we've been discussing the Kansas Corn Yield Contest, how it ties into the National Corn Growers Association Corn Yield Contest. And Kylie, final question for you. How does this timeline kind of work out?
So once harvest entries are in by November 30th, NCGA will announce their winners on December 11th for the National Corn Yield Contest. And then Kansas will announce their winners on December 27th for their Kansas Corn Yield Contest. We honor our Kansas Corn Yield Contest winners at our Kansas Corn Symposium January of next year. And national winners will be honored at Commodity Classic in Denver next year.
Really exciting stuff, and we know our Kansas corn farmers get excited about this contest like you kind of mentioned, Kylie. So thank you so much for coming on our network and sharing about it once again. And one more time, let's go ahead and give out your website for people to find out more, okay?
Yes, our website is kscorn.com. And for all entry rules, entry and harvest entry rules, you can go to ncga.com. And they will have all of the information there that you need for exactly what you need to do to get set up for this, and as well as finding seed vouchers, supervisors, all those fun details.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Kylie, once again, in an exciting contest. We appreciate all your hard work with it. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Austin.
At Case IH, we know you work hard all year to maximize your yield at harvest. And to do that, you need a combine that works as hard as you do. That's why we built the new AF11 with more horsepower, more efficiency, and more capacity than any other combine out there. Plus, built-in automation to harvest more easily than ever before. To do more with every engine hour, you need equipment that's as good as you are. You need the best in your field. Visit your local Case IH dealer for more on the AF11.
There are a lot of inconsistencies when growing soybeans. The soil, the weather, the market. You need something you can count on, like Revitech fungicide from BASF. It consistently outyields other fungicides by up to 9.5 bushels per acre, consistently wins in on-farm head-to-head comparisons, and consistently makes for happy farmers. Revitech fungicide. Visit revxfields.com for full results. Always read and follow label directions. Yield data based on summary of 2019 through 2022 RevX field scale demonstration trials.
Don't want to be tied down by a wireless contract? Get the service you deserve with NextTech Wireless Advance Pay. There's no contracts and no credit checks. Plus, you can get unlimited talk and text with 22 gigabytes of high-speed data for only $25 a month. Make the switch now and get a device on us. NextTech Wireless. Home on the range.
Want to be part of the Morning Blitz?
Don't fight it. Tell me how you really feel.
Send your thoughts to our text line at 785-899-2222.
Christian scolded me during the break because I went too long talking about the seating thing again. But
I did not think that we went too long talking about it. I just figured we wouldn't spend that much time on the seats. I did tell you during the break, Ross, and I got to tell the people now, just to get it out there. We made a pact that Ross gets a big, long "I told you so" if a couple of these Big 12 stadiums come out. We'll say multiple. We'll say multiple Big 12 stadiums if they have double-digit seats on either side of the table. Ross gets.
I can't wait to see Christian up there on his television screen counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey, you'll be doing the same thing. We both know that.
People watch the NBA tomorrow are the NBA Finals. Which, by the way, we're gonna have Bryce Simon on tomorrow to talk about the NBA Finals. So he'll be joining us again to talk the NBA Finals from the Met. But just watch the game and see how the benches are shoved into the corners on opposite sides of the floor.
I get that. I just don't get why that's
you want that in the college game.
Why is it bad?
I don't even like it for the NBA. I don't even like it for the NBA either.
I don't get why that's bad. That's all I'm saying.
I just believe because of the fan is short for fanatic, you need to kind of keep players and fans just a little bit more separated. Why do you want to put that kind of in between and possibly have that come together?
I am with you to a certain extent because it's college kids. So you've got 18, 19-year-olds, especially in the modern day. In the modern day game, we were getting more of the 22, 23s with the transfer portal, but you get 18, 19-year-olds. Yeah, really. Shout out Jack Golke. You're getting, he's like 24, but the hairline gives you a much older look. Yeah, you're getting 18, 19-year-olds that are more in front of the fans, but at the same time, if they're actually in front of the fans, it means they're going to the scorer's table and they're checking in, and they are willing to get that same, or not willing, they're able to get that same level of ridiculous stupidity from fans on the other side, the entire sideline on the other side. So I get it and I don't from that aspect. We are getting a text in, anything called Hollywood, whatever, can't be good.
Amen.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
Amen. Thank you, Texter, on the FB Bank text line. Of course, check out the video stream, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. We are live and on it right now. I tell you what, it's time for our guest today, talking little K-State baseball. It's our good friend Cole Carmody who joins us now.
It's time to visit with our good friend from Go Power Cats. That would be Cole Carmody. He's one of the busiest men I know. Guy coaches football, coaches baseball, teaches, and of course on the side covers K-State athletics. I don't know how you do it, man. How do you find enough hours in the day to do what you do?
If there was 27 hours in the day, I think my life would be a lot easier. But since there's only 24, it can be a little difficult. But you know what they say, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And Ross, I got to tell you, I love what I do.
Absolutely. How did the first year of teaching and coaching go for you?
Well, it was great. You know, you learned a lot of new things. And I became known around school as the guy who covers K-States and who they can occasionally see on TV. So, you know, that's always great when your students decide to play your podcast in the middle of class. I had to figure out how to handle that a few times. But no, it was great, man. Like I said, I absolutely love being around all the staff, all the kids, and, of course, the sports. It just makes life a whole lot of fun.
How many times did someone come up to you for some insider information?
Let's just say about every single class period. I think the funniest experience I had was we're playing baseball and going through the handshake line, and we had just beaten the team, and one of the kids says, "Hey, good job on Go Power Cat." And like I had no idea who this kid was, and you know, it's just little funny experiences like that every once in a while that make you smile and make you appreciate the little things in life.
Oh, that's fantastic. Cole Carmody, our guest on the Hoover Hotline. It's from GoPowerCat.com. Tell you, it's been an exciting time once again for K-State athletics. Now the baseball team making their way into the super regionals. That's kind of one of your sweet spots when it comes to Go Power Cat, is covering this baseball team. How much of a surprise, if it was at all, that K-State finds himself here in the super regional round?
You know, if you had asked me this question at the beginning part of the year, I would probably say not that much. This was a team that was ranked in the top 25 at the start of the season by D1 Baseball and some other outlets that cover college baseball and know a whole heck of a lot more about the sport than I do. And so, you know, when you look at the top end talent on that team, you got a guy, an All-American closer in Tyson Neighbors, a potential first-round draft pick at shortstop in Kalen Culpepper. You know, at the top of the roster, they can go pound for pound with anybody in the country. I firmly believe that. But as is the problem, you know, maybe with Kansas State teams of the past, it's been the depth. You know, after Oren Borma, they're a starting pitcher. Who do they have to throw? And that's kind of been a question mark all season. And in this Fayetteville region, they found a way to sneak in, which, you know, credit to Pete Hughes, because this was a team last year who I actually thought was a little bit more deserving than the team this year. But the RPI this year said that Kansas State should be in. And for those who aren't familiar, RPI it's a way of rating teams based off of strength of schedule. And what Pete Hughes and that staff decided to do this year was, instead of playing the University of Nebraska Omahas, instead of playing the South Dakota States in Manhattan, those teams that want to come play K-State, not only to gain some more money for their program, but really just to get games in the middle of the week, K-State said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to take the free wins. We're going to hop on a plane. We're going to go play Tennessee, who's number 1 in the country. We're going to go play Clemson, who's top 10 in the country. And if we win, great. But if we lose, it's still going to help our RPI. And so that's what this staff decided to do, and it worked. And so while the wins and losses may not have been where fans wanted to at the end of the season. They found their way into the big dance. And, Ross, just as well as anybody, if you get into that NCAA tournament, all bets are off. Southeast Missouri State found a way to beat Arkansas and play Kansas State in that championship round. And K-State took care of business. They beat every single team in that region. They are the outright champions. And now they get a chance to tangle with Virginia in Charlottesville.
It just seems amazing to me, Cole, that a team that was in the Big 12 baseball tournament down in Texas, kind of had a short stay there, but it didn't matter when they got into the regional round. They picked up like they didn't have any sort of lack of success at the Big 12 tournament.
No, I think, a lot goes into that, but baseball players are weird. And being around baseball players my whole life, I think every single baseball person will tell you that. And when you're playing the whole season like a bubble team, because all those players have ever known their entire time at K-State is being a bubble team. And so when you play as a bubble team, there's that constant stress of, if we lose this game, it's like, what's our status? Are we in? Are we out? And so when you are constantly worrying about that, there's a tendency to become uptight. And I think what happened with this group was that once they were able to learn that they were into this tournament, there's no stress, right? Go play baseball. You don't have to worry about anything. And so I wasn't surprised because there's a lot of talent on that team. And, was I a little surprised they beat Hagen Smith and Arkansas? Maybe a little bit. But the fact that they were able to do that really just shows you how much talent that team had and how loose they were playing in that regional.
Cole Carmody of Go Power Cat joining us here on the Hoover Hotline as we talk K-State baseball making their way to the Super Regionals in Charlottesville starting here on Friday. You mentioned a couple of great players, of course, the pitcher, of course, Kalen Culpepper and how great he's been. Can you talk to me about how good a player Kalen Culpepper is for those who do not know? Because I think for us college baseball fans, we knew Kalen Culpepper was going to be good this year. But for those who don't watch college baseball, how good of a player is he?
He is incredible. Every time I watch him play, he does something that surprises me. The last 2 seasons, he started over at third base. He's a junior this year, so he started from day one. And I remember watching him play his first game of his career. I had a chance to go down to Texas. I was actually down there on vacation, and K-State was opening the season at Globe Life Field. And we're like, okay, there's a true freshman. He's hitting ninth. He's playing third base. And then he gets up to the plate, and I remember him hitting a double and maybe his first or second at bat. And I said, wow, this kid's electric. You had no idea that he was going to be that good by the time he was a junior, where he is right now. But he is now playing shortstop. I think long-term he probably projects to play third base at the next level. But his ability to not only hit for contact, hit for power. I mean, he hit for the cycle against Louisiana Tech in the first game, then homers in the second game of that Fayetteville Regional. He's named regional MVP. He's really playing at an elite level right now. And if Kansas State can find a way to win 2 games and make it to Omaha, he's going to capture the nation because he is an electric player. He steals bases. He plays great defense. He is a true 5-tool player.
And that's going to make him a top pick. I mean, possibly a first-round selection in the MLB draft, correct?
Yeah, I actually just looked at the mock draft by MLB.com as recently as just a few days ago. They had him going 28th to the Astros. I think a team's going to fall in love with Kalen Culpepper. I watched Kalen Culpepper play, and I've made the comparison before. He reminds me of Maikel Garcia of the Kansas City Royals. He plays with a certain swagger, and he hits the ball extremely hard. I think he has a lot more power that's in the tank just based off of his exit velocity numbers, how hard he hits the ball. There's a lot of power in there, and he gets in the right organization, he's going to have a chance to be an everyday big league player.
Cole Carmody continue to be our guest here on the Hoover Hotline. Boy, what we talked about Kalen Culpepper and how great of a player he is, but it does take an entire team, whether it's pitching depth and or other guys in the lineup. What other guys have really stepped up here at the end of the year to make this run so possible?
So I thought the key to this lineup is a guy by the name of Chuck Ingram. And when Chuck Ingram arrived at K-State this year, there was a lot of hype. He spent his first 3 seasons of his career at Wichita State as an all-AAC conference selection. He had like a career 330 batting average. He stepped into the lineup immediately in Manhattan and produced. But as the season went on, I don't know if necessarily teams started to figure him out or he just lacked confidence. And He went from hitting about 350 down all the way to 260, I believe was his low point. And he was dropped to 9th in the order after being the leadoff man and hitting in the 3 and 4 hole basically the whole year. He was actually benched in the final game of the Big 12 tournament. And I don't know what happened, between Arlington and Fayetteville, but somebody lit a fire in Chuck Ingram because he came out in his first at-bat against Louisiana Tech, hit a home run. He hit another home run later in the game and was just blistering balls. He was the one who got the first RBI off of Hagen Smith in the Arkansas game. He is the key to that lineup. They moved him up. I think he was hitting 5th or 6th on Sunday night. And if he's able to get going, he deepens that lineup by one extra hitter. And, man, it makes this offense a lot scarier because he possesses the tools to be a really talented player.
What needs to happen in the pitching department for them to have success in Charlottesville?
I think use as little pitchers as possible. I think that's always your hope. I'm not so sure that, that's going to be possible against Virginia simply because, they're the number 12 team in the country for a reason. Very, very talented. The pitching is what leads Virginia. And so there's going to be a lot of stress on that Wildcat pitching staff. I don't think that Kansas State, is going to be able to score maybe as many runs as they did in Fayetteville. It could certainly happen. If postseason baseball is a completely different animal, but they're going to need their starters to get deep into games. I think Owen Bormo was 5 2/3 or 4 2/3 against Louisiana Tech. I have a feeling if he goes 4 2/3 against Virginia the first game, assuming that they go with Bormo in game 1, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. You've got to find a way to get at least 5 innings with your starters. Ideally, find a way to get it to the 7th, either tied or with the lead. Obviously, you always want to do that. But if it's a close game, you can expect to see Tyson Neighbors. And while he maybe struggled a little bit against Arkansas, he was also tasked with going almost 4 innings. I don't think K-State wants to necessarily do that. I think in an ideal world, you'd have Tyson Neighbors available for all 3 games in the series, which really means he probably can't go more than 2 innings in any outing. They probably like to keep him under 40 pitches each outing. If they can find a way to get length out of their starters, they've got some guys in the back end of that bullpen. Tyson Neighbors, Cole Weisenbaker, a sidearm lefty thrower. Blake Dean, who's a true freshman, has shown some flashes. And J.J. Slack, I don't know if you saw him, Ross. He was the one who did a backflip to end the regional final. They've got some guys who can get some outs. So if they can get it to where Tyson Neighbors can come in the 8th or the 9th inning and be available all 3 days, you got to like your chances.
Can you talk to me about Pete Hughes and what he has done to this program? And it was 10 years ago that Brad Hill led them to the Super Regionals in Oregon State. Actually, a little now 11 years, excuse me. So it's been a while. But what has Pete Hughes done with this program and how has it reached this level?
It's a great question. And there's a lot of fans. And I think, fan is short for fanatic. There's a reason for that. There's a lot of fans who maybe have questioned Pete Hughes, and rightfully so. But I think with baseball, it's completely different than any other sport because you can assemble a super team, much like Arkansas had. And they were in position almost every single game to find a way to make a comeback and win those games. You can assemble a super team, and if they don't win, then everybody looks at you as the coach. And so baseball is just a completely different animal because a ball can take a bad hop, and it can be the difference between a win and a loss. And baseball is a game of inches, even more so than football. And I think that Pete Hughes maybe has caught some slack over these last few years because his teams missed the postseason. And while there was definitely some losses that they should not have had, if Kalen Culpepper is indeed drafted in the first round, K-State will have had 2 players selected in the first round over a 3-year span. If you go back and look at Jordan Wicks, who played under Pete Hughes, and that would be 2 more than any other time in the history of Kansas State baseball. So I think Pete Hughes has elevated the floor of this team, and the ceiling is continuing to be raised. He has just been given a contract extension at the beginning of this year. I think he's in it for the long haul. This is his first super regional, and he's been around a while. He's found a home in Manhattan, and if he can continue to bring in good players, there's no reason that Kansas State can't be a contender for the postseason every single year.
Cole, I'll let you go on this. Charlottesville this weekend, best of 3 series. You talked about how having starting pitchers work a little bit deeper. What else will be some big keys, you think, for K-State to try to make it to Omaha for the first time ever?
Well, if you listen to the broadcast over the weekend, those announcers talked about small ball, and I think that is going to be huge against Virginia. Finding a way to take the home crowd out of it is massively important in college baseball. I mean, even more so than any other college sport, the home crowd can affect a baseball game more than a lot of other sports, simply because when you have 10,000 people on top of you watching your every move, it starts to get in your head. And as a position player, you maybe see one ball, if you're lucky, every 10 minutes, right? I mean, that's just kind of how the game works. And you might get one ball the entire game. And if you screw that up because you're thinking about what the crowd's going to say, they're already winning. And so finding a way to take the home crowd out of it, controlling your breathing, controlling your thinking, focusing on the little things is how K-State's going to walk away with a victory. If they win the first game, if they can find a way to win the first game, they're in the driver's seat. Now, we know what happened 11 years ago, Ross. Kansas State won that first game in Corvallis, but they ended up dropping the next two games. So it's not foolproof by any means, but if they can find a way to scratch the first one, then they are in really, really good shape.
Cole Carmody of GoPowerCat.com. Cole, thank you so much for squeezing in some time in that very busy schedule, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks, Ross.
Once again, great stuff there from Cole. We'll take a very quick break, come back, and wrap the show next with the walk-off.
Hola, soy Marie en el FNB Bank. Ahí ofrecemos diferentes cuentas de depósito que les puede ayudar a lograr sus goles financieros, ya sea de cuentas de cheques o de ahorros, a cuentas de cheques para negocios o una variedad de opciones de CDs. Estamos aquí para ayudarlo. Puede parar a nuestro banco que está al este del correo en Goodland o puede hablarnos a 785-890-2000 para trabajar conmigo o con algún otro miembro de FNB Bank.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
A three-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
CPAC, what was the worst loss yesterday? The Royals, who led 5-0 and blew that lead, lose 8-5, or the Rockies, who were no hit through 7, had one hit going into the 9th, ended up losing to the Reds?
Obviously, it was a much uglier loss for the Rockies. But I hate to just do it this way and fall back on this, but the Royals win realistically mattered more for their season. So I've got Kansas City, who we talked about it. It's a big series. It's just one series among many, and it's a long season. But yeah, you don't want to lose this series to the Guardians right now in your season. Not a good way to start.
Yeah, tough one there, Royals. Like I said, big series that mattered a lot. Rockies cannot hit the ball. It's amazing. They play in one of the most hitter-friendly parks in the world, yet they cannot hit the ball. It's rough. Like I said, no hit through 7 by Frankie Montas, and end up getting a run, though, in the 9th to prevent a shutout for the 8th time this season. K-State added a big man, a transfer from Kentucky, a 7-footer. Ogana Oseno is his name from the University of Kentucky. Didn't play a lot last year, but a big man, and Jerome Tang continues to add to the portal with Doug McDaniel and those guys. Be a completely different roster for K-State as it is for most teams. And don't forget tonight, the Women's College World Series begins. The finals begin tonight. Oklahoma, Texas, the Red River rivalry taking place on the softball field. We'll see Oklahoma trying to win their 4th consecutive softball national championship. They're playing in their 5th straight series. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Blitz.
KKCI.